So we're going to be focusing on the female reproductive system real quick. So when we talk about the female reproductive system, the main organ we want to talk about is the ovary, which is sitting up here. The ovary, remember, produces eggs. It produces estrogen and progesterone. And then we're also going to talk about the way that eggs would be released from the ovary and move through the reproductive system, and then talk about some of the other structures. So the first part, again, is the ovary up here. You notice that there's a little kind of reddish area here. That is the uterine tube. It's actually the fimbriae of the uterine tube. So eggs are going to be released from the ovary, and they're going to move into this uterine tube, also known as the fallopian tube. I like calling them uterine tubes because it actually tells you what your next structure is, which is the uterus. The uterus has a couple of different parts. We have the body, which is the main portion, and then we have this rounded superior portion here, that's the fundus, and then this portion here that actually extends into the vagina here is going to be the cervix. So when eggs move, they move through the ovary into the uterine tube and then to the uterus. They are going to leave via the cervix, but the cervix is, again, not a separate organ. It's just part of the uterus. And then it's going to move through the vagina, and you can see the vaginal canal here. So when we talk about the reproductive organs on the female, the first thing we want to really recognize is where they're located. The bladder is in front of the uterus and the rectum is behind the uterus. So the uterus is really in the center here. The uterus also, remember, has 3 different layers to the wall. We have the endometrium, which is this light pink area, the myometrium made up of that smooth muscle, and then we have the perimetrium, which is going to be the outside. So on the external genitalia, some of the things that we want to talk about is the mons pubis, which is this right here. This would be covered in hair. And then we have the labia. We have the labia majora here, which would be covered in hair, and the labia minora here as well. This would be the vaginal orifice, and then we have the urethral orifice. So you notice the urethra and the vagina, they are separate entities. The other thing that we see labeled here is the clitoris. So this little thing that looks yellow, you can see a little bit protruding through. So the clitoris is a lot larger than you can actually see. This is the portion that you can usually see, and then that is the portion that's more internal. So that's another portion of it. One of the things that's not shown on this model is the greater vestibular glands. And the greater vestibular glands are going to be in this general area here, and what they're doing is they're producing lubrication for sex.